Kollegen, liebe an der Ukraine Interessierte und natürlich liebe Akteure des Projekts Izyum Recovery. Доброго вечора, шановні гості з України та з Tübingen. When we started the series Brennpunkt Ukraine, Geschichte, Kultur und Politik einer europäischen Nation, Hotspot Ukraine, History, Culture and Politics of a European Nation, on November 2nd in 2022, Ukraine had been at war for more than 8 months. Today, nearly 2 years later, the war is still going on. Tens of thousands of civilians and soldiers have been killed or severely injured. Infrastructure was destroyed, cities were razed to the ground. At the opening of the 2022 Brennpunkt series, I asked how many of the audience knew before February 24th in 2022 that there is a Ukrainian literary history, that Ukrainian is a separate language, it is not Russian, and that already in the 1930s a genocide was committed against Ukrainians in which 3 to 7 million people in Ukraine starved to death because Stalin ordered the grain to be transported from Ukraine to Russia and he used it to feed the Russian population. Today these facts are known also because scholars, journalists and activists are raising awareness. In addition to the many crises, Russia's war against Ukraine, which, as I said, has been going on for almost 3 years, is in danger of being pushed into the background. We do not want to get used to this war, and we do not want the German public to get used to it. And that is why we continue to support Ukraine and Ukrainians. And we will continue our Brennpunkt series for as long as it takes, in order to quote a popular Western phrase, as long as it takes. We mean it seriously. This semester we start with a topic that is not quite as familiar to us, since we are scholars of Slavic literature and linguistics or historians. However, it is all the more important. Tonight we and our guests will talk about the reconstruction of Ukraine, specifically about the reconstruction project of the destroyed Ukrainian city Izyum. Izyum is located about 50 kilometers from the front line and was occupied by Russian troops for months. 90% of the city has been destroyed. However, around 25,000 people still live in Izyum, including 2,500 children and young people. The Tübingen Architektenwerkgruppe, together with Portal 21 from Ukraine and Stadtland Fluss from Nürtingen, the German-Ukrainian Society Trier, and Klaus Gestwa from the Institute of Eastern European History, will today speak about the reconstruction of Izyum from different perspectives. Using the example of the French quarter, Französisches Viertel in Tübingen, the plan is to rebuild the city while also responding to climatic, economic, and social changes in the spirit of the new European Bauhaus. At the moment, an exhibition about the project is shown in the Silchersaal Museum, Wilhelmstraße 3. And we will start with Klaus Gestwa, as I already said, specialist on Eastern European history here at the University of Tübingen. Klaus Gestwa has, for example, been working on large construction sites, Großbaustellen, in the Soviet Union, and thus has a genuine interest in construction projects and construction sites. Klaus, the floor is yours.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming. That's not me, no? Yes, it's you.
No, that's me.
We are now looking forward to an exciting evening with very interesting voices from Ukraine. My task is now to introduce you briefly to the historical and to the political background of today's topic. The Russian war of aggression against Ukraine has been going on for almost 1,000 days. 1,000 days. What the Russian army could not conquer, it is trying to destroy in order to demoralize the Ukrainian people and to break their will to resist. 250,000 residential buildings have now been destroyed and damaged across Ukraine, as well as nearly 4,000 educational institutions and more than 400 hospitals. The countless Russian attacks on the country's critical infrastructure are frequently causing the electricity and gas supply, heating system and water supply to collapse. The cold winter season will soon begin, which will impose much suffering and hardship on the people still in Ukraine. A few months ago, the World Bank estimated the cost of the entire reconstruction in Ukraine at 452 billion euros. The ecological damage and the psychological consequences of the war, which are far too rarely addressed in our media, are also very immense. Ecosystems, communities, family and biographies are destroyed. Although a ceasefire or even a peace is still not in sight, there have been already several major international reconstruction or recovery conferences to launch the necessary support programs at a very early stage. They are now intended to give the maltreated people in Ukraine hope for a better future and thus give them more confidence and strength. In our event today, we are presenting one of these construction or recovery projects which involves cooperation between tirelessly active Ukrainian NGOs and international partners. The place where the project is to be implemented is the town of Izyum. It's about 600 kilometers east of Kiev and 120 kilometers southeast of Kharkiv. The Russian name of the town means in German Rosine. There was a wine culture here in Izyum during the 17th century, and this is still indicated by the town's emblem with the three winds. Today, the region around Izyum is also known for its strawberry cultivation, in addition to engineering, the optical industry, and furniture production. As an important transportation hub and the northern gateway to the Donbas industrial region, Izyum was an important target for the invading army after the start of the Russian total invasion and was therefore fiercely contested. The Russian sources carried out what is called an herbicide, that means the systematic murder and devastation of the entire city. 18% of all buildings in Izyum were destroyed or severely damaged. More than 1,000 people died in these destructive waves of attacks. In 2020, the city had 47,000 inhabitants. 2/3 of them managed to flee in February and March 2022. Those who stayed at home experienced the horrors of the Russian occupation, that means executions, arrests, looting and robbery, rape and torture. There were cases of denunciation and collaboration with the Russian occupiers. These cases continue to so